Okay, so the class is being recorded. This is an extra class, of course, like we said and agreed, and it's going to be about the rest of Dubliners by James Joyce. We have spoken enough and long about James Joyce and his modernist tendencies, and we also spoke about those different short stories that showcase his interest in seeing a change happening in Ireland and in Dublin. What did we say about Dubliners? We said that it is a collection of short stories, and we said that we're being selective when it comes to those short stories. We cannot, this is what I keep saying, that it's a physical impossibility to kind of cover 15 short stories in a course that has other things before and after. But that's why we're being highly selective, and the selection criteria are inspired by what Joyce said himself about Dublin and what he wanted for Dublin. We said also that with the movement from mainstream English literature to Irish literature is no small move because of the difference in perceptions, the difference of experience, and even the difference in geography. The fact that Dublin and Ireland are two totally different locations and places. And sometimes geography determines a lot of things, like what is happening with Dublin and with Ireland. We shouldn't also overlook the fact that Ireland was colonized for centuries by the British, by the English. And the English, typical of colonizers, they made sure that the Irish identity is obliterated and deleted. They made sure that the language is not used. They made sure that Dublin is decadent and unadvanced. And these are the areas that people like Joyce are trying to address and perhaps repair and mend. They wanted to restore hope in Ireland, away from England and away from Britain. They wanted to restore some of the aspects of Irish culture. With Joyce, the strategy was different. Other people like W.B. Yeats and G.M. Singh focused on going all the way back to Irish mythology and our Irish culture and trying to revive those aspects of the culture. Joyce worked from within. His strategy was about, checking what is wrong with the Irish mindset, what is wrong with the Irish themselves, what kind of issues they have among themselves. And he started to look at a number of aspects in Irish culture, and he focused on, institutions like the church, the Catholic Church, that the island is predominantly Catholic. He also addressed the idea that people within their minds and souls are also very conservative and very traditional. They are so set in their old ways and they don't want to change. So you would mix tradition with superstition, and the end result is that you have this sense of paralysis that sweeps across Ireland and Dublin. People um, on the surface seem to be moving around doing what they are supposed to do in terms of jobs and other pursuits. But when you think deep and deeply about it, you find them paralyzed. They are not moving forward. And again, they are not moving forward because they are mired and perhaps drawn to the past, drawn to traditions, drawn to rigid, religious instructions and teachings. Like I said, the religion and the Catholic Church had such a hold on their minds and souls and hearts. They cannot seem to be moving ahead, even though we see them, like I said, going and doing what they should be doing. So this is what Joyce is addressing. It's this sense of paralysis that besets everyone, whether they feel it or not. This is also a big question. So we did that with sisters, where we have this sense of paralysis, and this paralysis is given through the institution of the church, and it's given through the character of Father Flynn. The fact that, again, religion and the church means a lot, and even at the expense of people's interests. We can feel that there is an abuse of a sort in the short story. And a child and a boy is involved. So it is as if those old generation individuals, like the priest, are trying to stifle the children. People like Father Glenn are enemies of promise, like we keep saying. So the promise here is the young generation, and the enemies here are people like Father Flynn, the institution that he represents, the orthodoxies that he comes from, the traditions that he also tries to impose on people, religious or otherwise. We then moved on to the second short story, which was Encounter. And with Encounter, we also have those enemies of promise. We have boys who would like to go out and perhaps explore what happens in the outside world, meet people, reach out to them, simply because they are stifled. They stifled back there at school. Their potential is not being transformed. They receive very drab and very traditional kind of education that does not inspire at all. And obviously, children and young generations are, they normally look for more excitement, more vitality. They want to change the world. And obviously, the institutions in the Irish society are not helping. On the contrary, they are not helping. They are even stifling their potential. They are even suppressing whatever hope we can expect of those groups. Now we're moving to play. And with play, we also spoke about Eveline as an example of this sense of stagnation, sense of paralysis that permeates the collection of short stories. So what's happening in Eveline is that we have a lady or a girl who is succumbing to tradition, who is ready, not ready, she wasn't quite ready to do that. She was forced to do that. Who is, or who is expected by society to relinquish any um, ambition, who is expected by society to sacrifice herself and her ambitions and pursuits um, for the benefit and the interest of everybody else. Um, she is a sacrificial figure, and this is what society expects her to be. And on the different levels, whether the level of society or the level of religion, or even the level of the family, she has to sacrifice, and she's expected to sacrifice her pleasure, sacrifice her career prospects, sacrifice herself in general. And they expect her to do that because if she does that, she is very close to the Virgin Mary. So obviously, they are using the Virgin Mary and her model of selfless service to trap women. So obviously, service and volunteering and everything is good, but there should be a limit. If your well-being is at stake, if your future is at stake, you need to stop and think whether the sacrifice that you're giving is right, is targeting the right people or not. This is obviously not what Eveline was trained to do. She decides at the end of the short story to stay and to relinquish any hope of union with the right guy, the guy that she chose. New life in Argentina, obviously, they were traveling there because she remembered that she made this promise to her mom to stay behind until everybody else is settled. A very heartbreaking short story because we know what happens when everybody else settles. Eveline will become perhaps middle age or even beyond, and nobody's going to show interest in her as a wife. And even she's going to be past her prime when it comes to jobs. The younger you are, of course, the more fit for jobs. If you're middle aged or even beyond that or older, your job prospects um, get less. So Eveline is also stuck. She is in a state of paralysis. She doesn't know which course of action to take. Of course, she decided that she has to stay. But before deciding on that, she was having this sense of paralysis, like everybody else. She is caught uh, uh, in the middle of the obligations to her family, to her society, and to her religion, and her free spirit and the freedom to go and explore the world and perhaps seek better life prospects. She is caught in the crossfire between those divergent um, streams, stay or go. So this is the sense of paralysis that we have in Eveline. And then we move today to Clay. And I am hopeful that you have done some reading when it comes to Clay. So did you read Clay?
Yes, doctor. I read the whole
Hmm,
story.
nice. Who else? Okay, so obviously nobody else. Okay, right. by now we're familiar with the style of Joyce because we have done 3 short stories already by the guy, right? We know what he is up to in terms of the significance of the titles, the bearing that they have on the action, if there is action at all, the characters. He can almost tell that we are in for either a girl or a lady or a boy. I don't know whether this is happening with you. Need to tell me whether this is happening in Clay or not. Who is the main character or the protagonist? And what kind of issues are we grappling with? I can almost expect that we're talking about women issues. Women also who are given very little recognition in society. Selfless women, women who sacrifice themselves for the benefit of others, especially males. So, do we have any of that happening in Clay, everyone?
Yes, definitely.
Mm, mm. How is the main character female?
Yeah, it's female. It's
Mm.
unmarried woman.
Married or unmarried?
Unmarried woman.
Okay, how old is she?
She's
Mid
middle aged.
Yeah, which means we're talking about
She
40 or perhaps 50.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, so what happens? I mean, why would a woman stay unmarried until she's 40 or 50 in a society where obviously there are lots of men? They don't have a problem with men. Why women in the Irish context are like that?
Mm,
Yeah,
maybe
from yeah, yes, yes, go
may,
ahead.
may, maybe because they don't like her, or they don't like her personality or something, or
Well,
they it's
obviously it's not
either
about personality, it's about
they don't see her, they see her less than them or something.
no, no. I'm talking, so you should be inspired, but what happened with the in the other short stories? Women
Oh,
in Irish society, when they are left behind until they are
oh,
40 and 50,
no
is
one.
because they had obligations and they forgot
Yes,
all about it. Remember what we did with
yeah.
Eveline?
But here in the story, you see that Mary doesn't have any obligation like Eveline, but
Uh,
but she's still unmarried.
yeah, as perhaps this part of the short story that, or this part of her life that we were not given
Yeah.
the opportunity to explore. But
Mm.
it's implied. It's something that it is not expressed, but we can almost tell
So
that.
because of her obligation, maybe she didn't marry.
Mm, yeah. Okay. So it's the self same motif. The idea that we
Yeah.
have women who are denied the right to choose for themselves, to choose what kind of life they want to live. They normally have a male figure, whether a father or brothers, who determine what kind of life their sister lead. And this is happening here. Okay, so what's the plot? Let me go to, let me share what I have. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so like I said, we're talking about uh, play. So again, we're trying to read the text very closely. And by reading a text closely means that you're trying to break it down to its basic components. So it's clay that and a painful case and possibly the dead that we're doing. So again, it's going to be about also paralysis and memory. Okay. So it's plot summary that we're going to go through, and then Maria and her limited life as a single woman. We're going to talk about the narrator and what kind of narration we have, and then what we call the free and direct style of speech. So it's paralysis that we're also addressing. And there is going to also be talk about this idea of memory. So let's read the summary of, let me see how long it is. Yeah, it's not very long. Okay, yeah, I'll give you 4 minutes. Please let me know so that I can move on when you have finished the slide. Go ahead.
Doctor,
Yes.
maybe she had financial problems, or her origins is unknown. That's why she didn't marry.
Well, this is not a good enough reason, yeah, Wissam, if you don't, if somebody doesn't have known origins, آه، يعني عشان فكرة الحسب والنسب يعني.
Yes,
Okay.
no, no. They cared a lot about the class uh, in those centuries.
Yeah, yeah, it can be. Yeah, that this is a possibility. Yeah. Did you read the novel? The short story, Wissam?
No, actually not.
طيب, read a summary of the plot, and I'm sure you're going to have more ideas when you read it. Okay, I'm sharing the plot, everyone, and it's a number of slides so that when you finish a slide, let me know so that we can move to the second one.
Done, doctor.
Can I move on?
Yes.
Finished.
Done. Done.
Okay, let me close the room. Okay. So now that we have read the plot, so what do you think is happening to Maria? And what do you think Maria represents, as we have seen over the past two classes, about women and their lot in the Irish society? What do you think? Now now that you have read the plot. So how different is Maria from Eveline? And how similar are they?
Eveline, it's still young, but Maria, she's older enough. Um, Eveline doesn't have a job, but Maria does.
Mhm.
What else? Uh, Eveline has a family, and Maria doesn't.
Mhm.
Uh, and Eveline, her father and her father, he decided he decided her life, how it's gonna be. She
Mhm.
must sacrifice her life. But Maria, she, uh, it's quite different, but it's still the same. She sacrificed her life for something, but we didn't know what it is. And she doesn't find the opportunity to get married.
Okay. I would like you to think of the two short stories. Which of them came first, Eveline or Marie or Clay? Which of them we did
Can you repeat
first?
the question?
I would like you to tell me about the arrangement or the order of the short stories.
Eveline came
So
first.
Eveline came before Clay, right?
Yeah, right.
Can we think of Eveline as the young Maria, or we
Yeah,
think of Maria as the old Eveline?
yeah, exactly. So,
So remember, Ralia, you were looking, you said that we didn't have anything or any hints about the
uh-huh.
past life of Maria.
Mm,
So the
yeah, I
past
get it.
life of Maria can
It's
be this
it's like Eveline lives.
yes, the fact that she had to make sacrifices for her family at one point. She has to stick around in her family. And then when she realizes she's old and she is now Maria with very limited options. Um, she obviously doesn't have any. I mean, normally, if you have a family, you get busy with them, but we don't see that she has any family even. to the extent that she regards the family of somebody that she nursed when she was young and when she was young as her family, right? And look at the attitude of the male society. How do they treat her? Do they appreciate her services? Do they appreciate the fact that she may have perhaps selflessly sacrificed her life for her family? Can you see appreciation from
No,
what?
they
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
take her
Yeah.
as a joke.
yeah, they make fun of her. They never miss a chance to make fun of. And obviously, this is the lot, Nasir, yani, this is the lot of so many women, not only in Irish culture, in lots of cultures where women sacrifice very selflessly. And look at what they get at the end. I mean, scorn and disdain of male members of society, abuse of all types. So this is what Joyce is trying to say. Women sacrifice. I mean, obviously, he thinks very highly of women. He thinks that they have potential. He thinks that they are being, treated unfairly. And perhaps by writing short stories like this, he's trying to say it's about time that we change this kind of attitude towards women, and that there is more to women than just selfless service. They have potential, and obviously, this potential is um, untapped. Nobody is considering, nobody is appreciating, nobody is unleashing either. Uh, um, and it seems also that she is also paralyzed. And this sense of paralysis is all over the place in the short story. She's confined between the drab job that she has in the morning and occasions like Halloween with this family. And obviously, she doesn't have much in the middle. She doesn't have something significant in her life. That's why she's so focused on going to this family and spending time with them. And again, because her life is stagnant and her life doesn't have any prospects, even when she plays. And those when she plays and those kinds of games that she is engaged in are all about making choices. She chooses. She makes the wrong choices. At one point, one of the choices was a ring, which is an indication that she may marry. Um, she didn't choose the ring. It's not that she wasn't lucky. I mean, she wasn't lucky. She didn't choose the ring, and she chose instead clay. You know what clay is? You know what clay is?
Yeah.
Phenol.
الفخار أو الطين اللي بنعمل منه الفخار.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which is silsal or pieces of land.
Yes.
And pieces of land are pieces of land. Where are we going to be buried eventually?
On the land.
So this is um, symbolic of her impending death. Perhaps she's going to die because she's old already, and death is obviously not a very welcome thing, right? When she chooses for the second time, what did she choose? She chooses a prayer book. A prayer book is associated, of course, to religion. So when you have a prayer book, you only think of religious things. So some people in the room when she picked it, associated it with going and living in the church as a nun, where she is going to live a life of service. She's going to, if she decides to go and live in a covenant or in a church and becomes a nun, it means that she is forestalling any chance of getting married, having jobs. So this is the life that she has. It's either death or confining herself to a life of service in churches or in covenants. So the two choices are obviously not the best if you're given the choice, and then obviously that's it. It was all luck, and it seems that she is also paralyzed in this sense. Paralyzed in the sense that the only options left for her are very minimal. The only options left for her are uh, not about the future, are not moving forward. They are moving backward, whether death or living a life of service in the church. That's so this can be a very interesting title for Clay. Limited opportunities for single women. You think you agree with this subheading? That Clay is about limited opportunities for single women, right? So we have Maria, the main character, uh, and through showcasing her life, we get to know that she has limited opportunities available, whether to her or to women in general in Dublin. Because this was the case with women, their lot and destiny was largely regarded as marriage and motherhood. And of course, if you're a spinster, you are a failure. It's not like now. Some women may decide not to marry because they are pursuing a career. They believe that if they secure a job and it's a good one and they have career growth, this is better than having a family and getting married. So, but obviously, in the Irish society, this is not getting married and becoming a spinster. Spinster means is not a good choice. It is true that with the more access to education, people started to perhaps look differently at women, and they wouldn't be kind of surprised if a woman decides not to get married for a job that she has, a good one. But we're talking about the majority of population where they still believe that a woman's place is at home, married and having kids. So according to this tradition, obviously, Maria is a failure because she is a spinster. She is single and she is past her prime. She is not married, and of course, she doesn't have any kids. But you would ask why she is single. You would ask why she doesn't have any kids. Again, you would think of Maria as the young Eveline who has to sacrifice everything for her family. And when she grows up and becomes clay, nobody is interested in her. Of course, people are looking at her with disdain and scorn. And she is pitiful, pitiful. You feel pity for her. Um, she keeps saying that she is independent and she wants to be independent. But obviously, these are platitudes. These are mere words because she's not actually independent. Society didn't make her independent. Society chose for her, chose her path and trajectory. Uh, Even though she feels that she may be independent, but we know that she wasn't. And we know how society looks at her being a spinster, being past her prime without a husband. So, what kind of narrator does Clay have? We have what we call a third person narrator when we say he or she or they. And it's always there. And there is always talk about Maria and what she does and everything. Description of her. Again, what is perhaps very straightforward is that we're being told right away how she looks like and what kind of character she has, which would make this narrator omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing. He knows everything, and this is, of course, is what we call authorial interference. So the author is there through the third person narrator, and he tells us pretty much everything about Maria. So that would bring us to the idea of point of view or narrator's tell, where we normally the point of view is either first person narratives where you have the I and the we, or third person narratives where we have he and she. And of course, like we have seen with the sisters, we have the I, first person narrator. In Eveline, we have third person narrator. And with also with Clay, it's the same technique, third person narrator. So we're oscillating between having an omniscient narrator and not having one. Again, what is perhaps new is that everything is said and filtered through the consciousness of Maria. So we're getting her point of view, we're getting her perspective on life. So it is true that it is a third person narrative where the narrator is omniscient and it talks about everything, but everything is said and told from the perspective of Maria. And this is what we call free indirect speech. So it's Maria's voice rather than that of the omniscient third person narrator that we hear or listen to. So this technique is called free indirect style or speech. Um, so this is perhaps very characteristic of Dubliners, where there is a great deal of use of the free indirect style or speech. And this is the common narrative strategy in those tales that are not told in the first person. So again, what does free indirect style does or do? Uh, it doesn't give me, or it doesn't give much, because this is also happening. You don't have a narrator who is commenting in a very direct manner on things and on people, making judgments, moral and otherwise. So as you can see, this is also meant, this is a strategy by Joyce. When we started the short stories, we had this first person narration. But as the characters grow up in the rest of the stories, the first person narrator becomes third person, and the characters themselves grow up. Again, we expect them when they grow up to know more about the world. That's why we're having third person narrators. Uh, and then we keep moving on where things are said from the consciousness of the older characters. And when Joyce feels that he's giving too much about the characters, he uses the free and direct speech, where the narrators are denied godlike knowledge of everything. No, we don't have that. We don't have this omniscient narrator. We have an omniscient narrator, but he is a limited one. Again, what mitigates the presence of the omniscient narrator is free and direct speech. So as you can see, the lack of omniscience, all-knowing and all-seeing narrators, and overt moral judgments are notable features of all the tales in this collection. And this is obviously also an influence of modernist narrative techniques and styles. So as you can see with Joyce, this omniscience and godlike knowledge of the characters and what they do and how they do it is something that he hates. He doesn't want to impose ideas and views on the reader. You go and read and understand and come up with your own conclusion. So what do we know about Maria from this point of view? We know that she is carefully positioned on the periphery of life, the margins of life, and close to the most important elements of human relationships. But she's not a part of them at any point. So what we're seeing here is a filtering of the narrative through Maria's consciousness. So we're seeing the world through her eyes. Again, this is meant to take us away from the supremacy of omniscience and the omniscient narrator. And again, she, because things are said from her perspective as part of this free and direct style project that Joyce has, she's commenting on things and on life and the Halloween party. Again, instead of saying that everybody was happy and everything, we have free and direct speech in which Maria is telling us that herself and others were happy. She was delighted to see the children so merry and Joe and his wife in such good spirits. So what does the limited point of view, what does it do? So it helps to ensure that frequently in this story, as well as in others, we cannot be wholly certain what is happening. Again, this is all meant because this is all experimental and this is all modernist. So obviously, Joyce is not using traditional narrative techniques. So what do we realize when we read the novel with this kind of technique, with this kind of omniscience? limited as it is. And as things unfold and as events unfold in the story, we get to know that women, and this is perhaps one of the messages of the short story, that women occupy a diminished position. Diminished means very low, disappearing, a diminishing position in society, in society's eyes. And we see them having this distance. We see uh, Maria is giving, reflects that. So she may seem independent, but obviously she is not very happy and she is not very joyful. And she's continually overlooked and disdained and scorned. And we have examples, remember, the bakery, the passenger on the train or the tram. So why is she keen on joining Joe in his house and celebrating with their family? Obviously, she is trying to integrate into a family that she, because she doesn't have one. And then there is this talk about her fortune or the lack thereof, and the fact that every time she chooses, it's the wrong choice, leaving her or reducing her to a life, to an impending, an imminent death, or to a life of service in the church. And of course, the play or the short story is full of symbols. Like I said, clay is a symbol of land and or the grave, because our graves are all land, and this is what we're normally buried in. We also have this idea of bandage, where something that they wrap around her eyes in order for her not to see. This is also like wrapping a dead body in linen in order to prepare him or her for burial. So again, so these are all signs of paralysis. She is either dying or confined to a life in the church. Again, when people die, they face their death alone, and this is also very sad and very paralyzing when you think of it. You see, think of how alone you will become when you die. So the question remains, does she realize that um, that she has missed out on a lot in her life? Yeah, she has this realization, and obviously she's kind of trying to fly away from those thoughts by engaging in the parties, by telling herself that I'm independent and I have money, by going to, now obviously she is not happy about it. And this is the end of this short story. Don't know whether we have time. Let me see how many people are we. Yeah. Okay. We'll stop on this note. And these are obviously the short stories that we're having in the midterm, inshallah, in the quiz. When we meet again, I'll allow you some time to read a painful case, which is very painful indeed, and read also the debt. And I want us to also meet. When is your quiz? Your quiz is on what? On Monday,
On
right?
Sunday. No, on Sunday.
On Sunday. Okay. So we normally meet on Sunday for extra classes. So we're meeting at night. And I think I agreed with you earlier that you're going to tell everybody at the end of the class that we're meeting on Sunday at 10, right?
Yeah.
So is it clear to everyone?
So, doctor, you will not give us another class on Monday.
Really?
You will not give us another class on Monday.
And let me get this straight. Your quiz is on Monday or Sunday?
الحصة تبعتنا الأساسية يوم الاثنين.
يوم الاثنين. طيب.
Okay.
And does الاثنين coincide with the quiz ولا الكويز يوم الأحد؟
الكويز تبع مادتنا يوم الأحد، بس
طيب.
عنا كويز لمادة تانية. أغلب
مم.
البنات بالشعبة معانا هنا عندهم كلاس لنفس لمادة الجرامر يوم الاثنين من 12 للتنتين.
طيب.
فهو بنفس وقت المحاضرة يعني.
طيب مفيش مشكلة. خلاص forget about Sunday. Let's focus on Monday. But instead of having the class at 12, we'll have it at night at 10. ماشي. يبقى Monday at 10. Is that agreeable for everyone? Raise your hands. الاثنين 10 مساء. طيب. طيب, can you put this on the WhatsApp group يا علياء?
تمام.
So we're changing the class momentarily because of what you guys are having to 10 p.m. on Monday. So no extra class on Sunday. Okay. So Sunday you have the quiz, the second quiz, right? You would have to come to the university and you do the quiz. صح؟ مش انتوا عارفين كده؟ صح. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
ممتاز. طيب, do you have any questions about these short stories? So I would like you to focus on paralysis, obviously. There is a great deal of talk about paralysis. Also, you may have a question on modern techniques and Joyce and what he did and what he stands for when it comes to those things. And the stories themselves, I mean, play, Eveline, sisters, encounter, read them very closely. I don't mind if you provide me with a very small introduction and then you go to the core of the question. Okay, everyone? That's out of 10, by the way. And have your pen handy with you because you're going to write. It's a paper-based exam. ماشي؟ Shall we call it a day, everyone?
Okay.
يلا أتمنى لكم إن شاء الله. نعم.
Doctor, can you send the slides in WhatsApp group?
طيب, I will.
Thank you, Doctor.
Work. Reem, are you raising your hand?
Sorry, doctor. So we have 4 stories.
Yes.
Sisters.
نعم.
Eveline, the dead, Clay, and
No, we
Encounter.
haven't taken the debt yet. Yeah, we said we'll have a whole
Fourth
class.
one we didn't take.
Well, then we will have a whole class on the debt because it's long. What we did was sisters, encounter, Eveline, and Clay.
Oh, so Clay is not the same as the dead. Thought it was the same.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Thank
a
you.
totally different story. Okay, so what I want you to do for next time, I would like you to read the death if you can, and I would like you to also read painful case so that we can finish next week. We can finish Dubliners, and we will have a class where we can have Sam Sullivan. We can agree on that. Okay, everyone? Yeah, I wish you all the best. Salam.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
يعطيك العافية.